encourage the sharing of the recording of this event in its entirety, but we do not allow editing or making public any excerpts from the recording. The league name, logo, event recording, or any material from the event cannot be used in a way that could lead a viewer or reader to infer support or opposition to any candidacy. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Marie Curtis. Marie is a league trained moderator who is from Monmouth County League and has been actively involved at both the state and local levels for more than 40 years, including serving as voting services director for LWVNJ and serving on the LWVNJ board of directors for 12 years, including serving as vice president of LWVNJ during that period. I could go on, but you want to hear from the candidates, so I will now turn the microphone over to Marie, who will introduce the candidates and outline the format.
Thank you, Steve. As you know, we're here tonight to hear from two candidates for the Democratic nomination for mayor. The two candidates are the incumbent, Kelsey Foster, and the challenger, Monique Coleman. The format will be in three parts. The first part of the evening, you will hear from each of the candidates. They will give an opening statement. It will be timed. We have the timer in the front row, and they will be given a warning sign when their time is almost up. They each have a 3-minute opening statement. We will then go to questions. And the questions were submitted electronically in advance and given to me a few days ago. So we will have 2-minute responses each to the questions with 1 rebuttal each allowed. We will then go to the closing remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing, after which I will end this meeting and you will have an opportunity to meet and greet if you so wish the candidates. So let us get started. We had an impromptu drawing for who would go first, and our first candidate with opening remarks is Monique Coleman.
We're obviously under duress here, only one microphone.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for being here, participating in this important event of the Democratic primary election, and special thanks to legal and voters for hosting this candidate forum. I want to just start by saying, again, thank you for being here. It means a lot to me as a candidate, as a challenger, to see that so many people here in Highland Park are engaged in the civic process, and tonight is an important moment in that process. Many of you know me as a mother, an educator, a community advocate, a school board member. I have been active in this community since my family moved here in 2014. I've been active in local organizations, including Who is My Neighbor, and I also was an early member of the Highland Park Parents and Students of Color, a networking and advocacy group for parents and families of children of color. I've also been active for the past 5 years on the Highland Park Board of Education, where I've served on multiple committees and chaired the Equity and Excellence Committee. Now, I know many of you in this room may have been in this very same room in 2019 for the Candidates Forum, and you may be thinking, here she goes, running for mayor again. But why? Like most of you, I feel the frustration regarding the state of our borough, the long-standing and new commercial vacancies, the long-standing and new closing of essential businesses, and the overall stagnation in redevelopment over the past decade are causes of concern for us all. But I believe in the potential of Highland Park. I believe it can be so much better. Highland Park is a community of smart, innovative, quirky, creative people and businesses. And as mayor, I want to build on these My vision for Highland Park, 5 to 10 years from now, is of a vibrant town that is a destination for people and businesses. A town which Rutgers and other large institutions are clamoring to get to, and a town that resembles who we are as a people and our values. To realize this vision requires proactive civic leader who understands asset-based community development and has a political will to bring about change. I am that leader. Thank you.
Could I please ask the audience to hold your applause until the end? The time it takes for applause takes away from the candidates. Thank you. Now we'll hear from our incumbent mayor.
Good evening, everyone. And believe it or not, I still get nervous in these kind of settings, these large crowds. But I want to start off by thanking the League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity to speak tonight. And I'm honored to be here as two Black women vying for the most important seat in Highland Park, leadership. This is great. It's a great testament to our town. I welcome you all, and as I welcome you all, I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support. I'm excited to have taken on this new position, which I took on January 24th as Highland Park's mayor. And with that, I hit the ground running. We know, and we all are in desperate need of a supermarket. So one of the things when I meet with people, doesn't matter who it is, I say, do you know anybody who wants to come to Highland Park to put a supermarket in its place? We can't say that enough. We need a supermarket, we need a supermarket, we need a supermarket. So as I said, I hit the ground running. What did I do? I started meeting with developers, people who own supermarkets, people who want to build. And we quickly put the area in need of redevelopment. With that put in place, the supermarket area is now in an area in need of redevelopment with a caveat that there will be a supermarket there. We do not own that property. It is privately owned. However, as soon as we did so, the owners of the property followed up with us, and approximately 11 persons that I brought to the table for a supermarket, we are in deep and close conversations with them. So I'm very hopeful that we will see a supermarket in that place. Just to take it down the road a little bit more, you all have heard that Wells Fargo is closing. That is true. Wells Fargo is closing. We have spoken to the corporate office there in California, but it's not just in Highland Park that they're closing. There's 17 Wells Fargo around the country that has closed. We have another closing earlier this year, and that's Highland Park Pizza. But I'm happy to say I'm going to be breaking ground, I think, this week on the new store that's coming in. A new Highland Park Pizza will be coming in that spot. It will be opening in September. So I'm really excited about that. But let me tell you a little bit about me. I came from Jamaica with my family as a teen. I went to school, and then I lived in Plainfield for a while. And then I wanted to start a family. My husband and I wanted to start a family. We started looking around. And Highland Park became a place that caught our eye, caught our attention because of the excellent school district that we had, the safe downtown, the walkability of the community, and I felt that this was a great place to start my family. I have a lot more to share. Looking forward to talking with you.
All right, our first question. I think we will hand this to the mayor. We've heard about your background experience, but what specific accomplishments in public office can you point to as evidence that you will be an effective mayor? And with Ms. Coleman, that's your public office was the Board of Education, I understand. Okay? So we will start with Ms. Foster.
Through the years of being in Highland Park, I have worked extensively with county, state, and federal partnerships. And I was able to bring a lot of grant programs into our town. For example, the field that you're looking at right across the way, the track and field We put solar panels on the borough. We have a solar field now, and we have won many awards for sustainable New Jersey. But one of my proudest accomplishments is our Zone 6 Teen Center. Zone 6 has been able to be a hub in the community. It's one of those vitally well-utilized services. We have seen kids gone into that center who had no place to go in the afternoon. Now they have a home, and they have turned out hundreds of graduates. They have turned out hundreds of entrepreneurs, and young people, while they're in the center, they are looking at how to build businesses. We have the School of Aviation that came in to work. They've gone to aviation schools. There's language program that's offered, different entrepreneurial workshops. So there has been tons and tons of things that I was able to bring to the borough, and especially funding, which is desperately needed.
Ms. Coleman?
Thank you. I want to talk about my involvement in community organizations and the school board as well. When I first arrived here, as I said, I jumped right into the energy of this borough around social engagement in our community. Joining the Who's My Neighbor board, which I recently had to step down from after serving 2 terms, I brought to that program opportunities for children and families to have accessible, inclusive educational programs that we had not yet had in that long-standing Who's My Neighbor organization. That included a summer camp that was open and accessible to children with disabilities, and it included also after-school programming that was enhanced to provide more accessibility. I'm proud of that work because Highland Park is an inclusive borough, and that means we should be doing as much as we can, every opportunity we have, to live by that value. And that means providing more accessible and inclusive educational enrichment opportunities and social opportunities. On the school board, when I joined in 2018, we were working on strategic goals for the school district. And at that time, I was proud to be a part of supporting the administration developing policies that would move our school district forward around our shared goals of equity and excellence. So promoting academic excellence and educational opportunities for all students, and also equity, so that we would ensure that our very diverse borough and our school district, where we have students with many different needs, is able to actually meet the needs of all of our students where they are at. And 3 years later, we were hit the worldwide global pandemic, and our school buildings had to close. And when that happened, when we returned from that intensified what was already very serious concerns that we had about the economic disparities and the relationship between those disparities and the needs of our students. As a result, we have worked very hard to make sure that we are providing both social and mental health programs as well as academic opportunities for our students. Thank you.
This is truly shared services.
I'm sorry about that. We're losing time. This next question may seem a bit redundant, but it makes a distinction between accomplishments and what policies you supported, either on the school board or as mayor, and what can the residents learn about your qualifications from your support or opposition to those policies. And you want to go first, Ms. Coleman?
So on the school board, as chair of Equity and Excellence, the Equity and Excellence Committee, I have worked really hard to promote policies that are going to close opportunity gaps based on race, disability, and socioeconomic status. And this is not just a goal of mine, this is a shared goal of our school district, and we are working diligently toward those goals. So that means that we have promoted better access to higher level classes for all students, supporting students who are from historically underrepresented groups so that they can be prepared to access higher level math and ELA courses. That work is challenging and it takes time, but we have been making strides in making sure our staff, teachers teachers are prepared to accommodate diverse students in their higher level classes, and also that students are prepared to make that challenge. So that means we've really worked hard to provide additional enrichment and support so that students can be successful. That is ongoing work that we have been really working hard to be successful at our school district, and we're starting to see progress in that area. We're also making sure that we maintain our standards of an excellent education for all students. That means ensuring that we provide classes that are stimulating, that are innovative, and that we make sure that all of our students have an opportunity to find classes that they truly feel passionate about, where they can engage in civic engagement projects, independent research projects, so really expanding opportunities for all students to have a high-quality education that we want to provide. And I know as families here, as residents, as homeowners, we want all of our students to have those opportunities. That has been my focus on the school board. I've also been very active in promoting transparency in our discipline and making sure that we're working on reducing gaps so that students of color, students with disabilities are not disproportionately impacted by discipline disparities. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that when I came to Highland Park, I have been serving over 20 years plus on the council, and that has a long time, and it had given me an opportunity to make real, tangible changes here in town. When I first came to Highland Park, we did not have an ethics committee. One of the things that I worked on was to put an ethics board in place, and that was really important. You say, why is that a policy change that was important? It ensured that there was no dual office holding. It could be from the Democratic Committee standpoint, or when I first came, we had a staff of 230 plus, and there was 3 minorities working within the borough. Policies had to change because we had office department where entire families worked, and therefore there was no opportunity for others. So we had to create an environment that would be inclusive, and it wasn't without pushback. But the changes happened, and we made sure that everyone was going to be given a fair opportunity when it comes to employment and being involved in Highland Park. Since I became mayor, I have filled dozens of board and commission seats, one of which I'm very proud of is the Human Relations Commission. It lacked membership, a robust body for a while, but I have worked diligently to put that back in place. Last year, we raised the Caribbean flag. This year, we raised the Jewish flag. We're doing Juneteenth. We're going to be doing LGBTQ flag raising and a lot more. And that goes to making an inclusive and a welcoming community for all of those represented in this room tonight. So those are some of the policy changes that impacts our daily quality of life that is important to all of us. There's other policies such as builder's remedy and a host of other opportunities that I've brought to the table. Time is limited, I see. But I'll share more later. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question, what are the main priorities you intend to work on as mayor? And we start with
My main priority, a supermarket, a supermarket, a supermarket. Not that I intend to work on as mayor. That's what I have done. We made that area in need of redevelopment with a caveat for a supermarket to be in that place. I have reached out to approximately 11 developers who are interested in bringing a supermarket into our town. Let me be clear, we do not own that property. It is privately held. But with that, after we passed the ordinance last week, the council did, we submitted it to the owner, and they have, let me say, they have looked at some favorites. So it's up to them to make the final decision, but we will be that partner that will be there when they say, hey, let's cut the ribbon for a new supermarket. I'm anxiously awaiting that day. So a supermarket, a supermarket, a supermarket. Earlier, I had alluded to our downtown development. I am happy to say that the state is almost there to open up South Third for the new farmers market, a place for the new farmers market, with plenty of parking and a square where people can gather and have events. And it will be a functional space that will be open to all. We will not be removing our current farmers market until we have a home for that. That said, we are working from 2nd Avenue up to 3rd to put the development plans in place, and it has taken a while. Let me be the first to say it has taken us a long time. We have gone through 2 economic downturns, and it's challenging when funds are not available for developers. But now they have that opportunity to come into Highland Park, and I want to say that I think they're 75% of the way there. So I'm confident you'll be seeing more development in that space.
Thank you. Ms. Coleman?
My priorities for Highland Park are to ensure that our borough can be a safe, vibrant community for all who live here. And as mayor, my first task will be to implement an economic development committee that is tasked with the job of supporting the council and the mayor in the work that needs to be done to prioritize our economic development needs, comprised of economists on this committee, officials in our borough who have experience with economic development, business owners, Main Street, Highland Park, all coming together to support us in addressing our redevelopment needs and promoting economic policies that are going to move this borough forward, including ensuring that we get a supermarket and we keep our supermarket in our town. For me, it's important to emphasize that when I talk about priorities for Highland Park, I'm talking about priorities that come from the community and are engaging our officials in a way that the community's voices are heard. I understand that there are many concerns in the community about the displacement of our farmers market to South Third, and I share those concerns. Our farmers market and market space is a unique institution in Highland Park that is in a highly visible location that encourages and promotes traffic to our borough, and it encourages small businesses. It serves as an incubator for small businesses. And I respectfully do not agree with moving it to a location where it will not have that same visibility, it won't have that same traffic, and it will not allow us to have that space and develop it to where it serves the full functionality of a market space as it could do right where it is. So I'm all for investing in our current market space, making it really be the vibrant town square that we know it can be, and it doesn't take a huge investment. I say we have other property, other lands to develop, not South Third for our farmers market and market square.
Our next question concerns transparency of government. The minutes of the council meetings are routinely not posted on the borough website in a timely manner. Do you consider the availability of video of these meetings on HPTV and YouTube to be an adequate substitute? Why or why not? And at this one we start with Ms. Coleman.
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of the question?
Do you consider the availability of video of these meetings on HPTV and YouTube to be an adequate substitute? Why or why not?
So I, like many of you, depend on the borough website to access information that maybe I'm not able to obtain in person, whether that's meeting minutes or important updates that the borough communicates to the community. And I have been frustrated at the lack of accessibility in terms of minutes to the public council meetings, as well as our commission and board meetings. No, the video is not a substitute for posting transcripts of meeting minutes. There are people who may not be able to access videos that need to have an actual print copy of those minutes. So it should be a priority of any government that is seeking to be transparent and is seeking to implement practices of good governance to ensure that the public has full access to meeting minutes when, as soon as possible, not 2 years later, and those minutes should supplement the video access as well. I also want to add that I'm pleased that we now have hybrid access to our borough council meetings, but that did not come easily. That came after 7 months of community pressure on the council and mayor to ensure that there was full access to our borough council meetings. And I was frankly disappointed that it took that long to put together the technology needed, a computer, a cord, and a mic, to make sure that the public had access to our borough hall council meetings. This is a priority for me, that accessibility is not an option. We came too far in the pandemic in terms of opening up accessibility to go back. So I'm pleased that we are there now, but it took way too long. And as mayor, I will ensure that all of our resources that we have and we have available will be used to make sure that our borough is accessible to all residents.
Thank you. Ms. Foster?
Yes, one of the biggest challenges that any governmental agency has is communication. How do you effectively communicate with people all over that get their news from various sources? We do post the agenda meetings for every meeting on a Friday on the borough website. The borough YouTube channel does carry the meetings. There's a CC on the YouTube channel, and it's for subscription. If you can download it, you can get the minutes from there. However, that's one of the items where you can get information. We do have a newsletter. We do have Take 5. The minutes, once the minutes are taken, it does take the clerk some time to transcribe all the notes and everything that was said in that meeting. We have got better, but it's not going to be posted the week in which the meeting was held because they have other duties that they have to perform. So yes, it has been times when it has been delayed. We're working on it, but we have a limited staff and a limited budget. So we try to make our communications available as much as we can. So it's available on YouTube, and I'm very proud to say that as I became mayor on the 24th of January, and one of the other priorities that has been fulfilled is to get us to go hybrid. That has happened. We are working on more ways in which we can communicate effectively with all residents.
Use my rebuttal. Ms. Coleman?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the importance of ensuring that we uphold accessibility as a priority. And I understand the constraints that any institution has with providing public information. As a school board member, we also have a borough administrator who has to provide timely meeting minutes to the public. And no, it doesn't mean the very next day, or perhaps not even that next week. But it means that as a practice, we are really making sure that the community has access to the information they need within a reasonable time. Thank you.
What is your plan for tax stabilization in Highland Park, given that most taxes go to the schools?
Well, we did a tax reval that has not been done in 38 years. The city of Newark took 50 years to get theirs done because it's extremely expensive. Ours took 38 years because we needed the state to force us into making the reval happen, because if we're forced into making that choice, they have to put some of the money up, and that's what we wanted. Yes, it's cost millions of dollars to get a tax revaluation done. That has been completed. The average homeowner has seen up to a $750 reduction in their taxes. And you're saying, okay, that's great. You said homeowners. Yes, I did say homeowners. But what about the renters? With that in mind, we passed a resolution and we created partnership with the schools to make sure that the educational institution, all of them, get a fair share and they get funded. 60% of the budget does go to the school system. I cannot speak of what this, I think my time is up, but that's what, 60% of the budget does go to fund Highland Park School System. Highland Park School System, they have a duly elected board, which we all vote for when that time comes. They're governed by themselves. They have their own governance. We do not, as the borough, govern anything that the school does. Their autonomy, and they stand on their own. We have no involvement in anything that the school system does. I'll wait that we are mandated to get another one.
Well, clearly I'm a strong supporter of our public schools, so I'm proud that Highland Park as a borough does also support our public schools. But I recognize, I'm a homeowner too, and I recognize that the tax burden that we have here is hard for many of us. As mayor, I think you all recognize that this is a fiscal priority that is important for all of us. That means ensuring that our budget is efficient, that it's evaluated periodically to make sure that we're getting the most that we can out of the resources that we have. And it means also pursuing opportunities for perhaps more shared services, as well as the ones that we already have. I also want to say that when thinking about fiscal management, it also means thinking about really being innovative in pursuing new ideas around environmental savings, cost savings that will really go a long way. And I will also emphasize the importance of our economic development. The more businesses we bring into our borough, the more commercial development we see here in Highland Park, that'll be a relief on the tax burden of our property owners. So to me, that's our focus, is to ensure that as a municipality, we're doing everything we can to develop economically so that we can help reduce the tax burden on homeowners, which will also then reduce the burden on renters. And I will say that I am very pleased that we have now a rent control board in place and a rental ordinance, but I believe has a cap of 4.875 on the increase there. That particular ordinance that was passed in December of 2022 was again the result of residents, renters, approaching this council multiple times and the mayor saying we are experiencing 50% to 70% hikes in our rent. This is not acceptable. And it was not an overnight or a week long or 2 week long, because it took months for finally the borough and the council and mayor to implement this bond that should have been implemented a long time ago. As mayor, I will make sure our rent ordinance leveling board has the teeth to actually enforce what it's meant to enforce.
Just a quick rebuttal. 60% of the budget does go to the school system. We, Highland Park, our municipal budget is $19 million. So that's what we spend on providing all the services here in town that we provide, from public safety to all the amenities to administration, recreation, and everything else like that. And we are very frugal, and we consider wisely when we make decisions. And especially when we put boards and commission together that's going to impact lives, we make sure that we have thoroughly reviewed the policy, such as rent leveling policies, to make sure that we are making the right decision, not a rush decision, something that will have teeth, so to speak, when it gets implemented. So yes, we're working hard, and we're very proud of the rent leveling board that we have in place.
All right, the next 5 questions are about the business district. And they asked me to ask you to please be specific in your answer to each of these. And being cognizant of the ordinance that was recently passed on redevelopment of the 420 to 424 Raritan Avenue property. So with all of that in mind, the first what should be done at the South Third Avenue site? And if you favor moving it, what should be done with the current site? And that goes first to Ms. Coleman.
Yeah, I think I already answered this question, but I will just restate emphatically that I do believe that one of the brightest spots of our borough is our market space and our farmers market. It's not just a farmers market, it's a market space. And its visibility on Barrington Ave is significant. It's very important to maintain that visibility because it does bring people into our borough. When they're passing through, they see all the activity there, and it's encouraging. That's what promotes growth and vibrancy in our borough that we all want to see. So yes, I do believe that we should not be moving our market space. We should be investing in our market space. It's an institution here for decades. Invest in it. It doesn't take a lot to invest in it. I believe that we can certainly pursue development at that South 3rd Avenue location that is multi-use, residential, commercial property as well. And that if it's better there in a residential neighborhood than displacing the farmers market and tucking it away there on South 3rd Avenue. So again, restating my position on this, I understand that there's already a conditional developer in place for the current market space. I do think that the planning and the timeline was not coordinated well. We don't know exactly where we are with the South 3rd Avenue development or space there, and is there going to be a gap in where our actual market space is held if, again, those two plans don't align. We have lighted properties, 2 auto lots on 1st and 2nd Avenue, and we have that 3rd Avenue space that could be developed. That's where our priority should be. Decades long, have those auto shops been sitting on 1st and 2nd Avenue. Why don't we build there and leave what's working well where it is and just build and develop it? We can be doing programs throughout the week, throughout the evening, music, staging, all kinds of activities that really will add to the vibrancy that is already in that space. Thank you.
You know, when 20 plus years ago, when the farmers market went into that space and we closed off the street, it was a huge, people were really upset that we closed the street and put the farmers market there. It's called change. And change, people don't like change. I, for one, don't like certain changes in my life, but it's one of those necessary things. So when we closed off that avenue and to the public, because we had a farmers market there with cars driving through, so we had to put those bolsters in with the humongous flower pots. Eventually, we put the welcome pavilion in, and the farmers market is there. Opening up on South 3rd to put the farmers market there, it will be where there's no pedestrian traffic. I mean, there will be lots of pedestrian traffic. It will become our town square. And the public safety issue will be addressed because there will be adequate parking away from the farmers market. We will be able to have a market that's open not just a couple days a week, but maybe several days a week or up to 5 days a week so people can get fresh fruits and vegetables. The farmers market is a huge success in our town. People come from all over to utilize the farmers market, and it's a great asset, and we are putting the area where it will be much more utilized. People will have much more access to fresh fruits and vegetables, probably 5 days a week. That all has to be worked out. But moving it from its current location and creating an area where you can have entertainment, a permanent home for the farmers market, and possibly some stalls in place. I think it's a great idea moving our town forward and utilizing that area that is in need of repair, that is already has been purchased a number of years ago. By the way, that was the old community center for Highland Park. That was torn down because it was in disrepair, and we will be using that as a part of the development track.
I want to emphasize that for me, this is not about being resistant to change. I'm a change maker. That's why I'm running for mayor. This is about ensuring that we are responsive to what the community wants here and what's working well in our borough, and ensuring that we preserve, invest in, and expand what's working well. And that is our market space right where it resistant to change, but I'm resistant to change that does not fit with who we are as a borough and what this community wants. Community development, working with people in our community is where I live and breathe and will lead this borough in a way that you know your voices are being heard.
Our next question, what strategies will you use to maintain existing businesses and attract new ones? Do you support a commercial vacancy ordinance that includes penalties to property owners for long-term vacancies? So it's sort of two questions in one.
I'm glad you asked that question because that's one of the things that we have worked on, we have in place, and we're fine-tuning that as we speak. The state has certain allowances. If the property owner is paying taxes on the property, we can't if the property is in foreclosure, that's one thing. But if the property owner is paying taxes on the property, there's very little we can do. We can fine him or her. But away from that, we can't do much. However, we have put those ordinances into place and will continue to strengthen those ordinances that we can try to eliminate some of the vacant properties that we have or the areas that have been blighted for a long time. As it goes for redevelopment, we are looking at where some of the gas stations are, the former gas stations and the service stations. We are working with developers and we're working with those folks in that area to do maybe some reallocation or to do some facade improvements. We have been giving out facade improvement grants to many through Main Street Highland Park. They have worked tirelessly to give out facade improvement grants to new business coming into town, and they have looked for ways to increase or show businesses. Since I became mayor, I have made it a duty to go to many of these places to take pictures of what their offerings are and to post. For example, doing Mother's Day from Sweet to Nuts, I went down there and I took pictures of their showcase just to advertise what we have in our downtown, because if we're not advocating for our downtown and showing the services and the products that we have, then no one is going to advocate for us. We can put it there, but once I create the Facebook page, I ask people to share, and it has been a very useful tool because they have seen upticks in people going into buildings, and we will continue to do that to showcase businesses in town. That's a part of economic development.
Yes, I want to say that I'm going to speak about what I said earlier, that as mayor, what I would do is, because we are actually in a crisis state in our borough, I would implement a new commission focused on economic development, exclusively on economic development, and definitely prioritizing, building on the good work that our council persons are already doing. Councilmember Hale, I know, is working very closely with our neighborhood preservation program, Woodbridge Avenue Commercial District, doing really good things to support the businesses there. So I'm talking about building on the good things we have, but really prioritizing the expertise that we have in our borough and channeling that expertise to the council and mayor so that we have a vehicle to really address these economic needs in our borough, including ensuring that we are developing our business district and attracting businesses. That means also making sure that businesses who do want to come here actually know what they need to establish their business. Making sure they have the information they need, the applications they need to ensure that they can open up their business, what grant opportunities are available to them, providing the communication and information that businesses need to be successful. I'm also a proponent of creating opportunities for what's called a revolving loan fund. And that means using grant partnerships with nonprofit and corporations to help us establish a pool of funding for small businesses that is revolving, that is also something that will be self-generating for our businesses. These are the kind of programs that if we have a body dedicated to these things, we can actually start to explore and determine the extent to which we can implement them in our borough. But this is a crisis that we're in, and we need to treat it as such. So it's more than just social media engagement. It actually is creating policies and plans and are going to ensure that we are doing what we, in concrete actions to bring in new businesses and support them so they can drive economic development in our borough.
I just want to add that we are very proud of Main Street. The work that Main Street has done has been tremendous in attracting business into our downtown. When I started on the council, we did not have a Main Street, and we founded a Main Street. They got trained, and we put development in place for Main Street to provide not only NPP loans and grants, but to provide other grant sources and to provide a technical review for business who wants to come into town. They would sit down with a technical review committee before going over to the planning board so that plans can be put in place.
I just want to emphasize that the Economic Development Committee that I'm proposing does include Main Street Highland Park as well, and it actually supports the work that they're already doing and making sure that they are at the table when it comes to pushing our borough forward, but they can't do it alone. So it's truly, again, about building on the assets we have and providing a vehicle for our business owners, residents, economists, Main Street Highland Park, our council members to work together on policies and programs that are going to move us forward economically.
This next question is about parking. Do you think that there is enough parking availability in the business district? And if your answer is no, what actions will you take to implement and address this problem? Parking in the business district. Ms. Coleman first.
So I will start off by saying on Raritan Avenue, no, we don't have enough parking. I know we did have a parking study that was done and a plan with recommendations that were pretty thorough. So I would like to see some action on those plans. How can we start to implement the plans that are in our parking redevelopment plan? Now, I will also say that we have public spaces, public lots that are free, that people do not have to pay for, and I'm thinking of North 3rd Avenue, that people can park and walk on our Main Street, and that's important to keep, in my opinion, that we have public parking that's available to people without cost. Public parking is an asset here in Highland Park, but it starts with, first of all, following through on the plan that was already presented to us. The recommendations in that parking plan to ensure that we can start to do things to open up spaces for parking on our Main Street. And that does not mean building a 3-story parking lot that would be privately owned or for private residents and not for public use.
Parking. If I go to a town and there's all these empty parking spaces, I might think the food is not so good or the town is not doing so well. So parking in itself, it could be seen as a problem or it could be seen as prosperity of a town. In our town, on the side streets, there are plenty of parking. We are a walkable town. When you go into our downtown, if you go to any of the side streets, parking is available. And as Monique says, there is plenty of public parking lots that are available where people can park. Parking is available, but you have to take a few steps out of your comfort zone, stretch your legs a little bit, and you'll find parking in our downtown. We will be looking more at the studies. We looked at the studies. We implemented many parts of the parking study that was done. Currently, there are these, I don't know what to call it, there's these empty boxes that you don't get to park if you have a large vehicle. It's a box with an X inside of it. And we're going to be looking at those parking. They're in front of the post office. You'll see that you can back your car into. So we have been looking at some of those and see if we can free up some of those spaces to create additional parking spaces. That's a study that has to be completed. We are aware that people would like to park on Main Street most of the time, but there are side street parking available because we pride ourselves in being a walking community. So walking up a block or walking around the corner or walking to a side street to park in a town where we have parking available and we have people walking constantly. Our senior population is walking. Our families are pushing strollers and what have you. So I think parking on side streets is there, and those parking spaces can be utilized, and to keep our environmental green, to keep a green community, that's what we pride ourselves on. That's a part of how we can look to not have vehicles, but to create side street parking.
As I said, when they handed me these questions, there's a lot on the business district. So here's another one. What other initiatives, if any, would you implement to improve our business district? And please be specific. And if you have any, we'll say some.
I want to go back to our supermarket again. And we have passed an ordinance in need of redevelopment with the caveat for a supermarket. That's a responsible approach to get the supermarket within that space. That's an initiative that we have taken to make sure that when that area gets developed, the supermarket will be in place. Another initiative that we have taken to ensure that we have business in our downtown space is that we will encourage business to come into our downtown space. We will provide loan and grants and programs for facade improvement and warning. I have built relationships with county, state, and federal levels that we can tap into those relationships to get more grant funding and more funding that are available and more shared service relationships with, for example, Edison, New Brunswick, Piscataway, so that we can pool together the resources so we can get more funding for our downtown, for our business district downtown, and to improve the quality of life for all. So developing the downtown is extremely important. What will I do? Reach out to partners, reach out to businesses, join Main Street organizations, let them know that Highland Park is in need of more development, just as I've done for a supermarket, and I've gotten them to the table so there's effective and good conversations happening with the developer and with the business owner. I will pursue those same avenues and work diligently to make sure that our downtown is being developed and we will have a thriving downtown. Progress takes time. And I've been working really hard at this, and we're going to make sure that in our downtown space that we will have a downtown that we all can be very proud of.
So I recognize that this is a complex issue, and it's not for just one person to have all the answers, or to be able to manage alone, or even two, or a full council, which is again why I'm proposing we have an actual body that is truly focused on our economic development needs. I also want to say that for me, as a community development-oriented person, and advocacy is my lane, I don't have a problem with going to developers or landlords, owners, who are sitting on these vacant properties and saying, we need to come to the table and work together. Enough is enough. 20 years of having vacant lots on our Main Street is not acceptable. This has to be a priority. And that means, you know what, if I gotta give Jack Morris a call, I will. If that means I gotta push a developer on you, I will. That means we can't keep saying, well, we can't do that. This is a problem. 20, 30 years down the line, are we still gonna be saying that? And this is not to say it's easy, but this is to say we have to start realizing that we can't accept doing business as usual. And that's what I'm bringing to the table. Our Main Street is a priority, absolutely. But it's not for just the council and mayor. They need support. And I recognize as mayor that I would need that support. Bringing in the expertise, bringing in the energy, and bringing everyone to the table is what is necessary. And that's what I would do as mayor of Highland Park.
As mayor, I had hit the ground running. to get supermarket to come into our small space. The supermarket space is 25,000 square feet. Supermarkets, bigger chain supermarkets are looking for 50 and above. So to bring developers to the table, it's a conversation. Property owners who are paying taxes on their properties and have their properties, it's a conversation and it takes time. It's negotiation and it does take time to get them to the table to decide if they wish to sell their properties or not. We do not do condemnation in Highland Park.
What will you do as mayor? We're finally away from business district. What will you do as mayor to ensure that Highland Park protects all of its citizens in this diverse community? Do you have any specific plans, programs, or other actions to address anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, anti-Asian, anti-Black, or other unacceptable behavior? So, protection.
Thank you. So we did have an equity commission that was established in 2019, I believe, or 2020, that unfortunately no longer exists. It was dissolved and replaced with the mayor's equity advisory council, which, if you look on the borough website, hasn't met since 2021 perhaps, and there are no records of what that body is actually doing. But yes, we do need an actual body that is making sure that we are addressing the diversity of our borough and keeping everyone in this borough safe, and making sure that everyone's voices and needs are heard, and reducing gaps in terms of opportunities to access essential needs in our community. That means, as mayor, I will ensure that we have a functioning equity commission that is addressing the needs of this diverse borough. We have valid concerns in our community from many community members. We know that there's been an uptick in hate and violence and bigotry targeted towards the Jewish community, Asian American Pacific Islander community, our LGBTQI plus community, and Islamophobia is also a real threat. So these are real threats that I know are impacting members of our community. That means, of course, we need to be doing all we can to ensure that our law enforcement has the resources it needs to continue to keep our community safe. But as a borough, it means doing everything we can to ensure that we have policies, programs, and practices in place that ensure that we are not perpetuating stigma, bias, and discrimination in any of our programs. It also means ensuring that our boards and commissions are truly reflective of the diversity of this borough. And that still is not the case. It wasn't the case in 2019 when I ran for mayor, and it still isn't the case now. Yes, there's been progress, but we have more progress to make. And that takes will and commitment, and that's what I bring to the table.
I'm happy to hear that Ms. Coleman agrees that there has been progress made. And as mayor in my short tenure, I have worked really hard on filling these boards and commissions. Over 2,000 of them have been filled since I took over this position. As it pertains to hate, we have gone out, I have worked tirelessly as the former chair of public safety to make sure that we provide funding for the houses of worship. And that security, especially during the high holidays in some houses of worship, that there's extra police protection that goes around to these businesses, to these houses of worship. We have done that. We have had events to bring awareness about the cultural sensitivities of the various communities that we have. I mentioned earlier that I started this last year by doing some flag raising events. And it might not sound like much, but what it does is it acknowledges the communities that live here in Highland Park. It brings them to the table. It gives them a voice. So when we do these events and people see the diversity of our town and we're coming out to celebrate each other, it gives us all a voice and it makes us feel that we are a part of the fabric of Highland Park. How do you stamp out hate? Doing these events, supporting each other, and building and working hard at building an harmonious bridge in our town. I have worked with such organizations as Bridge Builders, Southside Pride, the Mayor and the Mayor Clergy Council, and various focus groups around town to just to bring us together to start having conversations. And there is no place in Highland Park for any kind of hate. Whatever it is, it doesn't belong here. It could be anti-Semitism, it could be LGBT hate. None of it is acceptable, and I do not want to see it in my town as long as I'm here.
I just want to emphasize substance in terms of policies and programs, and that means actually working on policies and programs. Yes, having cultural events that bring together our diverse community are very important, but when I talk about equity and I talk about making sure that, to the question, everyone feels like their voices and needs are being heard and they're being protected, that means ensuring that we have actual policies on the record and that we have actual bodies that are dedicated to working on that. And that means, again, reestablishing our equity commission and making sure it has teeth to do what it's supposed to do.
On another topic, do we need to make Highland Park more bike and pedestrian friendly? And if so, how should we go about it? Ms. Foster.
Absolutely. It definitely needs to be more bike and pedestrian friendly. As I said before, we are a walking community. We have a committee called SWAP, and it's pedestrian safety, and we have grant funded. We have someone who is in charge at the Brownstein Institute in New Brunswick, and she chairs that committee. We work with Middlesex County. It's called Keep Middlesex County Moving, and we have rolled out a number of programs for pedestrian safety. We had a heads-up program to warning people to not be on the cell phone as you're crossing the street. Keep your head up, keep safe. And we rolled out a number of programs. Earlier, we talked about the NPP program, the Neighborhood Preservation Program. That program also helps with pedestrian safety. On the south side, we had started doing artwork in those areas where the bike could go. So just a reminder, as it serves as a road guide, but it also serves as an area where bicycle and pedestrian can walk. We are a walking town. We must ensure that our pedestrian and people who have different type of devices, as they utilize our streets, that those streets are safe.
I do want to acknowledge that first, I am a first-time bike owner after 20 years of not riding a bike, and so this, to me, is a matter that speaks very personally. It's because I have a fear of actually going on Main Street, even on a little town here, with my bike. So I'm feeling the importance of the work that our committees are doing around safe cycling and walking in our borough. I think that we could be certainly continuing to uplift this work, but we have a recommendation already to implement more bike lanes. We can start there with ensuring that we have more bike lanes in our borough for our bicyclists, including myself now. And I do believe that this is where, again, making sure that we're empowering and listening to the advisement of our borough's boards and commissions is truly where it's at. We have dedicated volunteers who are bicyclists, walkers, or just concerned about making sure that we keep our streets safe for people on bicycles or who are walking, who have much energy to bring to the table, many ideas, and I want to ensure that as mayor, we are actually implementing the kinds of policies and practices and ideas that these commissions and boards are suggesting that we implement through guidance and expert feedback. So yes, as mayor, I would make sure that we're building on what we already have and make our town even more safe for bicyclists and pedestrians.
Yes, we our safe walking and pedestrian task force have been busy. They have received a number of grants and loans from our state to do more improvement, to create more walkable space and more biking space. Those are going to be rolling out very soon. You will see those programs. We have rolled out a number of them. More will continue to roll out, not only in Main Street Highland Park, but in our residential area as well. Keeping our residents safe is a number one priority for all. Thank you.
And now we're down to almost the last question or so. This one concerns saving money. One way to save money is for the Board of Education and the municipality to share services. Do you see any specific opportunities to do so? And how would you work to implement them, if so?
So shared services between the school district and the borough. I'm going to start by talking about first the development that we all know that we need in this borough, and ensuring that when we have new development, that when developers are getting tax in lieu of payment programs, right, where they actually are getting tax breaks for developing in our borough, that our school district is getting 60%, their fair share of those tax revenues, because that's how we support our schools and help to ensure that also homeowners, the tax burden on homeowners is a little lighter. I would certainly, as mayor, ensure that we work closely with our school district administration to ensure that we're exploring all options to share services. I believe that our school district, our school buildings in this district could be used more widely as community centers and during the after-school hours, really opening up our community spaces for programs and activities that will actually enhance the community and provide opportunities for our students to have recreation and enrichment that's more affordable for our families. So I would be sure as mayor that I'm working with the school district administration to start thinking about opening up our community, our schools to the community more during non-school hours. And again, thinking about what kind of shared services that we are already doing that we can explore. But absolutely, we have to have strong support for our schools. That's the backbone of of our town, is really having strong schools. And that means partnership, working together, and ensuring that our districts are fully funded.
We have, for a number of years, been working with the school district in providing services to our town, and as we call it, shared services. For example, during the week, I believe it's a Thursday, we used to have it on Fridays, when Bartlett School was open for the kids over that utilize the Zone 6 area. The parents would come in and supervise the kids. We would provide pizza. The school board would open, the school would be open, and it would be a basketball tournament that they would have. So we have been doing a lot of shared services with the school system. We have a liaison from the council that attends on a monthly basis meeting with the school, and they discuss what opportunities that can be shared. For example, we had a janitorial shared service program that we were working with the schools. We have, I think it was a Wednesday night, adult basketball program that's held in the gym at the school. So there's opportunities where we have, and we will look for more opportunities to create more shared services within the school system and the borough. We are not apart, we are together, we're in the same town, so where it could be maintenance of the properties, we've worked on shared services there. Could it be more opportunities to utilize the buildings? We have done so, and we will continue to work on those partnerships that we do have with the schools. It's important because we're not separate, we are separate, but the residents of the town do these facilities from time to time for various activities. And I'm very happy to say that we have been doing that. Can we create more? Absolutely. As my grandma used to say, the biggest room in the house is room for improvement. And I will continue to work on that.
Okay, I want to thank everyone who sent in questions. We still have more, but we are running close to
want to start off by thanking you all for being here and to listen to us. Two black women on this podium, vying for the highest seat in Highland Park. I'm really proud about that. I'm proud for us. But as you heard tonight, I have a vision. I have a plan for Highland Park. I have the experience, I have the expertise to put these plans in place. I have relationships with local, state, and federal entities to put all these plans that I have discussed in place and even more. We had a short window, so we could not discuss all of it. But my plan is to have Highland Park succeed. Have Highland Park to be a place that people will enjoy living, people will enjoy coming back to. My children now are here and they want to start their families here in Highland Park. That's a great testament about our town. When families want to come back and have their start their family here in town. I am asking for your vote. However, I cannot do this alone. This is not how a town is managed. It takes partnership. But we cannot work in a divided town either. We need to be united. We need to be one Highland Park. Not two Highland Park, but one. My tagline on all my messages on my email says, a small town with a huge heart. We are that small town with a huge heart. And as I ask for your votes, I also ask for your partnership. A partnership to build Highland Park, to make Highland Park a place that we all want to live in, a place that's prosperous, a downtown that's thriving, and where we can hold back and see some substantive tax break, and where we can utilize all the service that our town has to offer. Thank you. I ask for your vote, and I ask for your partnership.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Highland Park voters, Democratic voters, you have a rare opportunity in this election to actually have a choice and a voice in the ballot booth. Your choice is between, yes, a long-time entrenched politician representing the status quo as we know it for over the past 20 years, and a grassroots civic leader who is prepared to represent Highland Park with a commitment to good governance and a clear vision of a vibrant future for our town that builds on our community assets. As mayor, I will work hard every day to be a change maker in our borough. That means I'm not here to be divisive, I'm here to actually bring people together. So the fact that we have a choice is not about being divisive. It's about ensuring that the electoral process and the democratic process here holds true in Highland Park. Our pressing economic and social needs that we discussed this evening are long horizon needs, and they require planning around a shared vision, critical discourse, and collaboration across diverse stakeholders, and sometimes with competing interests. I don't have all the answers to the many complex issues at hand, but as a longtime community advocate, I recognize the potential in Highland Park, and I'm prepared to harness it as its next mayor. I have a proven track record of leadership and achievement, as in my professional and my civic life. And I have successfully managed teams and projects with different sizes of budgets. As mayor, I will draw on my extensive background in community advocacy and my small business experience to advance new and innovative partnerships with local businesses, property owners, residents, and institutions that promote economic growth in our borough. My commitment to Highland Park is to work on strong partnerships with our borough council, volunteer boards and commissions, our law enforcement, first responders, civic and faith leaders, and community organizations to ensure that all our residents have access to the opportunities necessary to make sure their essential needs are met, that they can advance their well-being and achieve their full potential. Vote for me on June 6th if you want change and you want to see our borough move forward. Thank you.
In just a minute, I'll give you a chance to really give some applause. up to you. Making democracy work depends on you, the voters. The polls are open on June 6th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please remember to vote. And now you can vote your